I wore an Apple Watch every single day for the past 5 years, and in this video I will tell you everything I learned along the way, how I use it and how it improved my life. So if you're in the market for a smartwatch, this video will help you decide if you should buy an Apple Watch or maybe something else. Chances are, if you watch this video, that you do not have an Apple Watch yet. And in this case, I will try to explain you a little bit how I use my Apple Watch on a day-to-day basis. So first of all, I use my Apple Watch as a normal wrist watch, basically. If I am curious about what time it is, I just take a look on my watch and I know what time it is, basically like a normal watch. I know it's a little bit ridiculous, but people tend to forget that the Apple Watch, on the end of the day, is still just a watch. And the great thing about using your Apple Watch as a normal watch is that you reduce screen time on your smartphone because you check your time on your watch and not on your phone. That means that you're less likely to, pick up your phone just to check the time, but then you see something and bam, you're in the rabbit hole of your smartphone. Speaking of the smartphone, you can pick up calls with your watch, If you are getting a call and your smartphone isn't around, you can basically pick up the call from your watch and then you can run around like in the future and talk to your watch. The audio quality is pretty good, I have to say, on both sides. It's a great feature and like I said, if your smartphone isn't around, just pick up the call on your watch. Also, one thing I constantly check on my Apple Watch is the weather. Therefore, I use the normal Apple weather app that is installed on the watch. It isn't the best, it isn't the most precise, but you can get a general sense of what weather is outside and what temperature it is outside. So I constantly check this and I really think it's a useful feature to see your weather on your watch. One thing I also use constantly on my watch are timers. For making coffee, for sports, for cooking, you name it. You can use timers for basically everything. You can call your voice assistant for the timers, or you can just push the button and tell your watch to set a timer for this and this minutes. It's great. You can set multiple timers. It's great. I know that basically every smart device can do that, but it's just so comfortable and convenient to have it on your wrist, and you don't have to pick up your phone or anything for that. And one thing that I do not use that often, but my girlfriend does. She told me that she often skips songs via her Apple Watch on Spotify or Apple Music. And you can also, select different playlists on your watch, so you don't have to pick up your phone again, which is great. I don't use it that often, but maybe that's a feature you really enjoy. So I thought I let you know. Also, one thing I would highly suggest for all smartwatches, but of course also for the Apple Watch, is to turn off notifications. Because a vibrating wrist is very, very distracting if you are doing anything really. So I turned off notifications and after that I had a peaceful life. Now a little bit more about the hardware of the watch. I basically only charge the Apple Watch if I know that I'm not doing anything for a while. For example, if I sit down on my desk and do some deep work for a few minutes or a few hours, I put my Apple Watch on the charger, and if I'm finished with my work, I will take the Apple Watch and just put it on my wrist again, and it will be fully charged and it will last the whole day and probably the whole night too. Also, I charge my Apple Watch while I am in the shower. And with the newer models of the Apple Watch in particular, that is enough to last the whole day and the whole night basically, because they charge that fast, which is pretty nice, I have to say. Before that, I had the Series 5 that was charging a little bit slower. Also, the battery after 5 years wasn't the best anymore, so I had to charge it, I think, 2 times a day for around, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. But it held up, I ran a whole marathon with this watch. I was at 100% charge in the beginning, and then at the end, I think I was at around 30% charge. After 5 years, it still did it. But this year, with the redesign of the Apple Watch, I thought to myself, well, your Series 5, it's getting old, I have to say that, and therefore I decided to upgrade to this one, to the Series 10, which is right here on my wrist. And so far, I'm very happy with this watch. I enjoy the redesign. It does everything the Series 5 did, but better. And yeah, so far I'm very happy with the watch. It's a watch you should not sleep on. For sports, I would recommend silicone bands because you can wipe them off pretty easily and they do not get soaked with your sweat. But for everyday use, for casual wearing your Apple Watch basically, I use fabric bands and I think they are way more comfortable than silicone bands. But in the end, I think it's a little bit your personal decision what band you would like, what band you prefer. I prefer fabric bands for everyday use and silicone bands for sport activities. The Apple Watch, even though many people might not think that, is pretty robust. I have never used a case or anything on my Series 5, and yes, it had a few scratches and nicks, but I did not really mind that. If you are someone who is hyper aware of scratches or anything on your devices, then you maybe should consider a case, but I never used one in 5 years and it worked totally fine without any major scratches till the end. Did the Apple Watch work for me? And I would answer that with a strong and confident yes. 100% the Apple Watch works for me. I would even go as far and say that the Apple Watch may be the best investment I have done for myself. After I got the Apple Watch, I instantly started to move more and I tried to fill those famous rings you probably know and have seen 100,000 times by now. But they really do work. They gamify movement and they gamify sport activities, which is great if you want to start moving more. Since I got the Apple Watch, I never skip stairs. I skip escalators and elevators, and I try to maximize my movement throughout the day. Before I got my Apple Watch, I already was running from time to time. But after I got the Apple Watch, I took it way more seriously because I could see my progress and my improvements over time. But full disclosure here, every other smartwatch can do the same thing. It just so happened that in my case, it was the Apple Watch. And since last year, I took running even more serious and started to train for a half marathon, which I run this year, and a marathon, which I also run this year in my hometown, which was a very, very great experience. And the Apple Watch helped me achieve that goal. Of course, you still have to put in the work, but the Apple Watch helped me to stay motivated and to let me see my progress from run to run. But like I said, every other smartwatch can do the same for you. Again, in my case, it just was the Apple Watch. Well, why the Apple Watch then, you may ask? And that's a good question. It's a valid question. Well, first of all, the Apple Watch integrates very, very good into the Apple ecosystem. So if you already are bought into the Apple ecosystem, I would say the Apple Watch is a no-brainer if you're looking for a smartwatch. But besides its great integration into the Apple ecosystem, it's also one of the best health and fitness trackers. It tracks my vital signs and has sleep tracking. And according to the quantified scientists on YouTube, it's one of the best devices in both categories. Also, you have no subscriptions. You just buy the device once and then you can use it indefinitely until the watch dies or you want a new one or you accidentally destroy your watch. Also, you will have free software updates for a pretty long time. I think with my Series 5, I had software updates for around 5 years. I would say with the newer models, you will probably have software updates for even longer than that. That means that your watch will become better over time. I don't always pick up my phone for timers, alarm clocks, or simply checking the time. So it reduces screen time on my smartphone and therefore saves me from distractions. It gamifies workouts and sports activities, which is great if you are not the type of person that really enjoys sports. So all in all, I would not want to miss the Apple Watch. It did in fact help me to become more healthy, and I feel more connected with my body since I have an Apple Watch. In my opinion, the Apple Watch is among the best devices Apple has ever made. So if you're in the market for a smartwatch, in particular for an Apple Watch, I hope that I could help you with my experience with the Apple Watch. If you're not in the Apple ecosystem yet, I think there are probably other smartwatches on the market that are also great, but my experience is mainly with the Apple Watch, and that is what I stick to in the video. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay safe.